Another game that this slate is so ugly, but it's another game that I kind of like.
No, this one's so juicy. This game is so juicy, dude.
In Houston getting 54% of the bets and 72% of the money. Total set at 40. I don't know if I said it, but Bucks +3. I'll let you start on this one, Andy.
The reason I think this one's so interesting is I think either team that wins this could be a candidate, like I said at the beginning of the pod, to be one that kind of makes a run this second half of the season. Not that this game is going to indicate that they're going to make a run, but they're positioning themselves to do so. The Bucks have the Saints and Falcons above them in the division, both at 4-4. So it's very, very, very achievable for the Bucks to, as you predicted before the season started, to make a run and positionally lock in into that 6 or 7 spot in the NFC playoffs. Because there's 2 spots that are ready to be taken in the NFC playoff picture. I think that there's 5 teams that are locked in, but we're still missing 2 that could really be anybody's. And that's why you saw the Vikings go out and trade for Josh Dobbs instead of trying to mail it in. They have an awesome chance for that spot. And when you're in that position, you don't mail it in and start tanking. You should. I'm glad that they're doing that. It would be a bad precedent if as soon as the quarterback goes down, they give up when they had an asset that they could trade to go get Josh Dobbs, and they're going to keep trying. Anywho, the Texans, this just feels like such a nice little bounce back spot for them after getting embarrassed in Carolina. I know that the Bucs defense is better in a lot of areas than Carolina's defense in some ways. I really, really like the Texans here. I don't mind the Bucs either, but I think this Texans team plays hard. I think the defense has steadily improved too. I know that they ended up losing to the Panthers, but they still contain a Panthers offense that had 2 weeks to prep for them to, 15 points. I think that this is an awesome spot for them. So I lean Texans. I'm not going to rip just yet, but the nice part is, if you're listening and it's still staying the same, there's some books where you can get Bucks at +3. There's some books you can get Texans at -2.5. So with a lot of discrepancy in the market, depending on which way you like, you could still get a half-point edge, depending on how you like it.
This is another game where we're going to be on opposite sides. I like the Bucks. I think this is a good spot for them to. I'll say this first. I think
Boy
at this point, yeah, Baker Boy for sure. I think at this point there is too much tape, and I said it last week for the Panthers over the Texans. There's a lot of tape on Stroud now, and he doesn't necessarily have these weapons that are going to break out and do crazy things. So once teams figure out the Stroud in this offense, which they are starting to, and he's not looking as good as he did in the first half of the year, then you're going to find this Texans team more regress to what they should be, like one of the bottom tier teams in the NFL. And it's nothing against CJ Stroud. I think he's great. I just think this is a very tough portion of the year for him to bounce, to continue what he did, and throw however many passes it was without a pick. So I love the Bucs here. I think their defense is stout enough to take on the Texans. The Texans' offensive line is injury prone. It's not looking great. I'm surprised to see. I understand why the public and Texan and money love the Texans. I just don't get the Bucs hate. I think at the beginning of the year it was like this as well. I just don't think they're as bad as people think. What's interesting here is 69% of the bets on the over, 84% of the money on the under, giving it a 53% sharp differential. We're seeing some massive sharp differentials towards totals, which is kind of wild. Looks like you have a point.
I do. This is a big thing for me. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers rank 27th in the league in opponent completions per game, allowing 25.1 completions per game to opposing quarterbacks. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers rank 28th in opponent passing yards per game, at allowing 256 passing yards a game. They've allowed 299 in their last 3. I just feel like CJ Stroud is a good enough quarterback, even though he's a rookie. And I agree with the tape part, right? They do have the tape, but it's not like the Texans aren't going to be prepping either. I know that's just such a shitty counterpoint to make, but I think that the stats say it all, right? He's going to have some favorable matchups, and we've seen both Tank Dell and Nico Collins turn into really solid receivers for him. He's got Robert Woods there too. Really, really like this passing offense for the Texans, and that was why I picked them last week. I'm not going to shy away from that this week. I'm going to stick to my guns here that they have a really favorable matchup in the air, and I'm actually going to go ahead and lock it in. I'm going to lock in Texans -2.
Wow, that's bold. But I mean, I don't love the Bucs right now. I think I like them. I think this is a great spot for them to get a cover on the road, despite Baker not really being a good road covering team or quarterback. I'll probably end up passing it on Sunday, but we'll see where things end up. I don't love it. I'm surprised that you love Texans that much to place it right now, but I mean, all power to you. You need to turn around. So
yeah, it's my second week in a row going early on them instead of waiting till Sunday. I didn't necessarily go in on them early. I took the over last week with the same logic of that because I thought that the Panthers would put up some points too, and the Texans defense surprised. I mean, Panthers ultimately won, but they contained the Panthers pretty nicely throughout that game. So I doubted that Texans defense, and they're playing hard. I think that they should give Baker a hard time too, because Baker's play was really solid the first few weeks, and it started to go down since then, in my opinion. But also, it's all about who you play as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think they've had a rough go facing the Lions and some tough teams here. But thank you guys for listening. This is our breakdown of Week 9 in the NFL. It's been fun. Eddie and I have been on the opposite side of a lot of these games. But as always, you can check out our articles, as always, on happyhoursports.net for NFL. NBA is ramping up. We've got NHL ramping up as well. College football, as always. And then, of course, the Prelim and Pilsners podcast. Or is it Pilsners and Prelims? Pilsners and Prelims podcast. I know. Again, I made the name and I still forget it. But that's how catchy it is. That's how you know it's good.
Yeah, we just got done recording for UFC Sao Paulo last night. You will see that. Well, that'll be out by the time this podcast comes out. So definitely go check us out. We previewed every single fight on that card, besides the one that got nixed with Elvis Brenner, where he got a different opponent. As well as be sure to check us out for hockey content. I know DJ touched on it, but we've got 3 dedicated hockey writers now on the site, and they are super fired up about hockey being back. And they're writing some cool pieces. It's not just betting stuff. There's a lot of opinion stuff on there too, where I feel like if you guys go and read their stuff and want to chime in too, definitely find them on Twitter and where they post a lot of their content and join that conversation. So couldn't be more excited about what's going on, to your point, Deej, and couldn't be more excited to bounce back in Week 9 either.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. I'm excited to get into it. So thank you guys for listening. As always, we are here on Sharpen the Public every Tuesday and Friday, recapping and previewing NFL weeks. Thank you for listening. We will catch you next time. And thank you for checking us out on YouTube. Keep getting us some support. We're getting a few subscribers here and there. So thank you to everyone on YouTube. We appreciate you. And hopefully we can keep on winning for you. So
cheers, guys. The boys bet better with beer.